Thank you everyone for your time and joining us today. This is the third stakeholder meeting for Vision Zero Action Plan. And today, actually, we are gonna Ruta's team, and Ruta mainly is gonna recap what we have discussed in the previous meetings, and also on top of that, we're gonna show you what we have heard so far from the community. We have received 600, I think over 600 comments, and also gonna show you the draft implementable action and some draft engineering solutions.
Yep.
Yeah, so with that, Ruta, you can start.
Yes. Again, thank you everyone for your time this morning. Quick agenda items. Just wanted to go through some of these topics again, just in case if you have not attended the previous meeting. So just as a recap, what is Vision Zero? Why do we need it for our city specifically? What is the process? Where are we in the process? Some initial collision analysis findings that we had. How did we come up with the high injury network? And then based on those high injury network, what were the collision profiles that we really think that we should emphasize on and put our efforts in? Also, based on the analysis and what we have heard from the community, we did, and also, our experience working with City of Livermore in past, we have put together a countermeasure toolbox that has all different kind of countermeasures to which could help us making our city safer by implementing them. So we do have that toolbox. We also want to quickly talk about what we did in terms of outreach and what we heard from the community, and how does that tie up with the implementable actions that we are going to share with you today, which is draft. Nothing is set in stone. So if we have missed anything, please let us know if anything needs to be added, or if we are over promising on anything, please let us know that, hey, this is way too much. Let's just take small steps and step back a little bit. So that's fine too. We also thought that we wanted to take this opportunity and recommend some safety projects that can be penciled in. So we have done that too. We have a list of 5 to 6 projects that we want to discuss. Again, in a very draft stage. So welcome to take questions on that. Also, next steps as to where do we go from here, and then we can open it up to discussion. So quickly, introductions at City of Livermore. And as you all know, we have Joanna, Christina, Gabriel, and I don't think so we have Juan today, but we have them three helping us and assisting us on this presentation. At TJKM side, Ruta, that's myself. Rudy's out. He had another meeting, so he was not able to join us. And then Himangi helping us for today's presentation at my end from TJKM. Again, what is Vision Zero? I think I've repeated this billion number of times now and probably boring you to death. But what the main concept of it is that we want to eliminate fatal and severe injury collisions as much as possible, making sure that we promote safe, equitable mobility for everyone, all modes of transportation. No one should be enduring death or severe injury on our streets. We want to be proactive as well as reactive in this whole process, make sure that we have a two-prong approach embedded into this process. We want to make sure that the safety prioritization is inclusive of design, regardless of age, ability, identity, or mode of travel that we pick to travel from one point to another. And also this particular concept was originated in Sweden, and it has been very successful in Europe. But as you can see from the map, that it is gaining momentum in US too. So a lot of cities within US are adopting this plan because every life matters, and people want to make an effort to get our city, their agencies, to zero fatality or severe injury type of collisions. So that is the whole point of having Vision Zero. Again, it does have its basis on safe system approach. And what does that mean is we want to make sure that we have safer people, safer vehicles, safe speeds, safe roads, as well as no matter what happens, and if like with all our efforts, even if we put everything together, we still do end up having a collision. We do have a plan for post crash care too. So we want to make sure that that is accounted to. So because the principles are also humans do make mistake. No matter what we do, we definitely make a mistake. So we want to make sure that those mistakes are rectifiable through our engineering, education, enforcement proposal aspects for this project. Also, humans are vulnerable. We do share responsibility. So no matter whether you are from Public Works or you are from LAVTA or you are from police department or emergency department, doesn't really matter. Everyone has responsibility towards this plan, and we are all going to work towards it together. So that's another thing that is really, really important for this particular plan. Safety is proactive. We don't want to wait until a collision happens and then fix it. And that's the reason I said that it is a two-pronged approach. We want to be proactive as well as be using reactive approach, which is looking into the collisions, because we need some good start where to start. Or we want to make sure that we are emphasizing or focusing at the right locations so that at least it gives us a good kickstart. But at the same time, we compare these locations with similar locations within our city that might have not seen collisions and try to rectify them too before we see any future collisions. So we want to be proactive. And then redundancy is crucial. Um, so that is pretty much the approach and concept of Vision Zero. Oops. Are you seeing the... there it is. Um, why do we think that our city really needs this concept of Vision Zero? Why do we think that we need to work towards it? We all know that Livermore is growing, but at the same time, we have growing concerns also as the population increases. We want to aim towards creating safer streets for all modes of transportation and also prioritize safety. And we want to make sure that all collisions are preventable and we have we don't accept loss of life at all. The reason why we think that it is important because we looked at the data, and within the 5 years we are seeing that there are 833 injury collisions within our city, which is 1% of fatal collisions, 6% of severe injury collisions. I think it was 46. I don't know what is happening to my I think something is wrong with my visual, but um, I, I think it was 46% of visible injury and 55% complaint of pain. So because we are seeing so many collisions, we want to make sure that we do have this drive of Vision Zero. And then further, we also looked into how it is impacting the vulnerable travelers. So if we look at all injury collisions, 13% of it is contributing to modes like bicyclists involved in the collisions, 8% pedestrians, 79% motor vehicles. But if we just look at KSI collisions, which is killed or severe injury or fatal or severe injury, then 14% involved are bicyclists, 21% involved are pedestrians, and 61% involved are motor vehicles. So that's the reason we think that we really need to embrace this concept of Vision Zero and do something about it. As far as the Vision Zero process, as I said, we started collecting the data for 5 years from 2020 to 2024. We started our project in 2025, so we did not have data for 2025. Then we did the collision trend analysis. We really focused on fatal and severe injury collisions because Vision Zero does focus only on fatal and severe injury collisions. We identified the high injury network based on it, developed some safety countermeasures that we have already shared with you in the last meeting. After that, we integrated the plan and looked at some improvements that we can prioritize. We are in process also of developing an action plan. So after this meeting, once we finalize the implementable actions as well as the safety projects, we will develop an action plan, put together a final action plan, which will go in our Vision Zero report, and then we will take it to the City Council for approval. But throughout this process, as we said, proactive and reactive approach. Reactive, we did the data collection. Proactive, we kept the stakeholders as well as community members in the loop and kind of gained as much feedback we can from this particular group, the stakeholder group, as well as the community. A quick uh, kind of a go through on the collision analysis. Again, once we look into the fatal and severe injury collisions out of 833, 57 were KSI collisions, which contributed to 19% of fatal collisions and 81% of severe injury collisions. When you look at it by mode on KSI, 2% trucks, 14% bicyclists, 21% pedestrians, 23% motorcyclists also, and then 40% passenger cars. So that kind of gives us the distribution of modes that were involved in the KSI collisions. And then we also looked at it by location. So 75% of these collisions occurred at an intersection versus 25% of it occurred on a roadway segment. So definitely intersections are something that we really need to dive into and see what can be done to make our intersections a little bit safer than what they are today. Just two different maps showing all injury collisions on one map, which is on the left-hand side. And then the right-hand side just shows us fatal and severe injury collisions. It kind of shows us the location of where these collisions have occurred. And this is also available on our project website. Based on the analysis, we did identify 13 high injury corridors within our city. And here is the list of it with Vasco, First Street, Airway Boulevard being the top three corridors. Even though we have just looked at 13 or listed 13, it's not that whatever improvements or implementable actions we are coming up with are only for the high injury network. No, it is for the entire city. It's just that this is kind of giving us an idea that if you have funds coming in, then probably these are some of the corridors you want to prioritize because you're already seeing major collisions on these corridors. Last meeting, I think we talked about it that Isabel Avenue is a Caltrans right of way, and it is being maintained by Caltrans, but it is a gateway to our city. So we did want to look into that, not take it out of the mix. So we did do a special analysis just for Isabel Avenue, and as you can see, we have 5 KSI collisions on Isabel Avenue with 3 fatalities and 2 severe injury collisions. And that has contributed to 20% bike collisions, 20% actually bike as well as motorcycle collisions, and then 60% of collisions involving passenger cars. And then again, we looked at the collisions by location. As you can see, 80% is still contributing to intersections and 20% to roadway segments, which is kind of very similar to 75 and 25 that we have within our city too. Also trend-wise, quite a few collisions on Isabel Avenue. So we'll definitely look into it and we will get Caltrans on board and see what can be done to mitigate some of these high injury locations that we have on Isabel Avenue. Just maps showing different injury collisions, like 141 total injury collisions on Isabel Avenue, 5 KSI, like I mentioned in my previous slide, with 6 pedestrian and bicycle injury collisions throughout the corridor. And then this analysis kind of led us to collision profiles. So like we had discussed last time, that we have identified 12 collision profiles where we really think that we need to emphasize our efforts on. So we looked into addressing collisions near school zones. Also, we looked into how can we really educate age group between 20 to 39 and also kids. We want to address the collisions at non-signalized intersections as well as signalized intersections. We also saw that even though some of our corridors were 25 miles an hour and 30 miles an hour, we're still seeing some type of collisions within those corridors. So we, like you would see in my next slides, that we were thinking that city is already looking into having a traffic calming program to be revamped. So maybe we should also go back and look at some of those residential streets and see if there are more traffic calming measures that could be implemented so that it will help us to reduce collisions on these low posted speed limit corridors. We also want to make sure that we reduce nighttime collisions, reduce collisions that are broadside. We want to address collisions that involve motorcycles, pedestrians, bicycles, definitely address DUI type of collisions, and then collisions related to unsafe speed. So probably try to see if we can lower down the speed limits or do something, implement some of the countermeasures that automatically helps us to for drivers to kind of slow down through some of these corridors. And then the countermeasures were also kind of divided into different categories because that would help city to have the countermeasures categorized so that they can pick the right countermeasures when they see similar type of issues in future also. So these countermeasures have been categorized into roadway design, pedestrian and bicycle safety separately, operations and signal timing for our signalized intersections, speed management for corridors that have higher speeds, and we want to control them, signage and marking. I think year to year, we do see that a lot of our signs and markings, they kind of deteriorate, with the aging. So we want to go back and kind of check to see what can be done to, first of all, swap those signs. And also because the standards change, we want to make sure that we are to the current standard. So we want to bring those signs to current standards too. And then just engineering solution is not going to give us the maximum benefit. It's not going to cut the deal. So we want to make sure that we do include education and enforcement. So there are countermeasures that we have included that would help us with education and public awareness as well as enforcement. As a part of reaching out to the community, apart from having these stakeholder meetings that we did have a project website that was developed for this particular project. We emailed a lot of people. We had a roster of emails for community members within our city. So we did send out a lot of emails letting them know about this project. We had a map input platform that we have spoken about in our previous meetings where you can go to a particular map, tell us exactly where your concerns are, what are your feedback. We also had outreach meeting. In fact, yesterday we had one in-person outreach meeting at the city council chambers, right, Joanna? And then we did also reach out to the community through newsletters, kiosks, brochures and flyers, and then paper advertisements. So a lot of effort was done to make sure that we are involving the community within this process. But if you still have any questions, you think that we have missed anything, please email Joanna and she will make sure that we get all those comments and we integrate that within our plan. Based on the outreach effort that we put in, like Joanna was mentioning, we did get a lot of comments. Like we got 626 comments from 410 unique commenters. So a person might have given us multiple comments, and that's why we are seeing that there are more comments than the unique commenters. So we did receive 410 unique commenters come visit our website or take surveys and let us know what their concerns or what their feedback was, out of which 330 were point comments at specific locations and 80 were line comments. So they were basically letting us know about the corridors within the city if they had any feedback or concerns or issues. 39%, sorry, 39% of these comments were related to roadways, 61% were related to intersections. 26% of these comments were related to bicycles, 37 to motor vehicles, and 37% also for pedestrians. So this is just a percentage of comments that we have received for each mode. We looked at what kind of traffic safety concerns do community have, and here is a big roster of comments that we have received from the community. But the top three concerns that they have is pedestrian safety, speeding throughout the city, and traffic signal and sign violations. So they are really concerned about these top three concerns, top three topics, and also the fourth one being limited visibility. Also, we kind of took these and saw how many of these, for example, how many of the pedestrian safety comments were related to roadway segments versus how many of them were related to intersections. So as you can see, that 22% were related to roadway segments, 78% was related to intersections. Similarly, for speeding, it's pretty consistent, 50-50, I would say, just 5% here and there. On the roadway segment as well as intersections. For traffic violation, definitely a lot of these sign and signal violations are at the intersection. So you would see that 80% of these comments are at the intersections, but there are 20% on roadway segments too. So probably people are not looking at the speed limit signs. They don't stop properly, they don't yield properly. So that is what we are looking at when we bifurcate these comments further into location. We also looked at what were the corridors that they were really concerned about. So here are all the corridors that we received the comments for, but the top three corridors were East Avenue, Livermore Avenue, and First Street. And then again, for each of these corridors, we wanted to see how many comments were related to roadway segments versus intersections. So in this case, just an example, on East Avenue, 20% was on roadway segments and 78% was at the intersections. So that's kind of the distribution we are looking at with respect to the comments for each of these corridors. There's a lot of data. We will be having these slides on the project website. So just in case if you want to go back and revisit this, please feel free to do that. And then if you have any questions, more than happy to answer those later on too. Then we also kind of looked at that for each of the corridors, if there were specific intersections that community were concerned about or wanted to let us know what their issues were. And the top three intersections that community is really, really worried about is East Avenue and Jensen Street, Livermore Avenue and 2nd Street, East Avenue and Mines Road. So here are the top three intersections that we got the maximum comments on. Now, with all this information that we gathered, the comments we received from you, the comments we got from the community, the collision analysis that we did, we have drafted some implementable actions for the city. And these implementable actions are actually divided into different bins. And these bins are like Vision Zero program and initiative evaluation. Now we are doing this plan, but we want to make sure that city continues, because I've always been saying that this is a living document. It's not like another planning document that you do it, end of the day, it's done, it is sitting on the shelf. No, we want to make sure that this is a living document and city does consider this on every aspect of the projects that city might be carrying forward. So we want to make sure that we do list some action items for city that they need to do through the process after we are done with this plan. So for each one of these categories, we have a listed actions that they need to do. And these categories are divided into, like I said, Vision Zero program, initiative and evaluation, safe roads, safe road users, safe speeds, and safe vehicle and post-crash care. So each of these different categories have list of actions that we have put together. For example, like I said, the Vision Zero program, we are proposing that at least this stakeholder group meets once a year, twice a year, once a quarter, whatever you feel comfortable, so that we can come back to the table and see what is going on. Yeah, we did recommend these implementations. We implemented them. Did it really benefit us or not? If not, let's fine tune them. Or yes, it did benefit us, and let's implement more of these because it is giving us the maximum benefit. So those are the things that we want the city to continue on this plan. Again, say for example, some other plans are coming up. We are going to have an active transportation plan coming up in probably in a year's time or so, right? We want to make sure that the new plans that come up, they also have Vision Zero as their base document. So we want to make sure that the principles of Vision Zero are incorporated in forthcoming city plans, policies, and design documents. So that is also one of the actions that we are proposing that city should take. Another one is maintaining count program. For example, if city can maintain pedestrian bicycle counts throughout the city, it will help us to see what can be done at specific locations where you see that mode shift or more pedestrians or bicyclists using a particular corridor or intersection. So I'm just giving you some examples. Again, this is a very, very draft form. City is still reviewing it. Please, you too review it. And if you think that we have missed anything, please let us know and we can include that. Similarly, I'm not going to go in each one of them because it's a lot of actions that we have listed, but safe roads also have 11 actions that we have listed. One of them I can quickly pick is if there is an opportunity to implement quick build, low cost safety improvements. For example, you have a overlay project coming up and you have right of way to stripe a bike lane. Can you do that within that within that project? That is what we are trying to say, that if you can, if city can keep a log of those quick build, low cost improvements that can be done today, then city should keep a track of that. Safe road users, we have 10 different action items for safe road users. For example, if we can do something to promote transit, carpooling, micromobility, and commute reduction programs, then city should look into that. And in the safe road users, we have also kind of separated out the bicycle and pedestrian road users, which are more vulnerable. We call them vulnerable road users, and we have special 7 action items for them too. So we have just divided the road users into 2 categories. Safe speeds, for example, adopt and implement citywide speed management policy, or make sure that we advocate for automated speed enforcement in school areas. Maybe next we might, once speed cameras become legal throughout, maybe that could be one of the policies that city can add later on. Right now, there are only pilot projects that have been done. So that is something that city can look into. If you want, we can already add and say that, that should be looked into in future, something like that. But those are some of the examples for the action items. And then, like I said, safe vehicles and post crash care. So we have 3 action items for safe vehicles and then 5 action items for post crash care. We want to make sure that we improve the response coordination. People do get help in limited amount of time. I think 2 to 3 minutes is considered to be the response time. I might be wrong, but that is what we also want to keep in mind. That we do pay attention to those implementable actions too. And then, so those actions that I discussed here, they are kind of combination of engineering, education, enforcement, policy, all those type of actions. The ones that is on your screen right now, they are specific engineering actions that we are proposing on this project. So the draft recommended safety projects that we are looking into is we're looking at like 6 different projects, 4 of them being specific locations, and two of them are more citywide projects because we also want to make sure that we systemically change certain things. So I will go through each one of these projects in my next slide. And then, like I was telling you, that there are certain corridors that are lower speeds, but we think that people are still driving fast on those corridors. So if we could look into implementing traffic calming measures on those corridors, that is something else that we have pointed out in the plan. So project one, First Street Corridor Safety Improvement Project, it is more for bicycle and pedestrian enhancement safety along the First Street. We wanted to make sure that there are some improvements included in this. It could be very, like, again, it is a very, very draft high level. It could be crosswalk enhancements, signing striping, bub outs, anything like that. But we are still looking into what can be done to enhance First Street from safety perspective, because as you can see, we have a total of 95 injury collisions and 5 contributed to KSI. So we thought that we should emphasize on First Street. The collision profiles that it would address is collision profile number 3, 5, 9, and 12. I don't want to get into details. I've already talked about these profiles in my previous slides, but we just wanted to make sure that you have a correlation, that why we are selecting a particular project and how is it helping us to address whatever concerns or issues we had. And the way we have done that is by saying that by having this project, we are actually addressing a certain collision profiles, and this is for every project. So I don't want to repeat that over and over again. But for every project, we have given you a list of collision profiles that it addresses, and then list of implementable actions that it addresses. So in this case, SU5, 8, and VRU2 are addressed by implementing this project. Similarly, project 2 is improving signalized intersections with protected left turns. This particular project, we are proposing that there are a lot of permissive operation intersections out, and they do have left turn lanes. But if we can convert them from permissive left turns to protected left turns, then it will help us enhancing the safety, not only for motor vehicles, but also for pedestrians and bicyclists. And again, we are proposing this project is because at those intersections, if we look at the total injury collisions, we have 85 total injury collisions with 4 contributing to KSI. And as you can see, we have 10 bicycles, 2 buses, 6 motorcycles, 54 pedestrians, and 54 passenger cars, and 13 pedestrians involved in these type of collisions. So that is the reason why we are proposing this project.
Hey, Ruda, I have a quick question.
Yes.
You're saying protected left turn lanes. Are you talking about arrows, green and red arrows?
Yes, having the
Okay.
left and arrows
Right.
implemented at the signalized intersections.
It seems while driving around in some other cities, like when I'm off duty, I see a lot of cities switching those to the flashing yellow arrows when the through traffic gets a red light, I'm sorry, a green light.
Right.
The left turn goes to a flashing yellow arrow
Mhm.
cautioning them to turn. Is that something different? I mean, obviously that's
Yeah, that
different, but the
it
cities are doing that to warn them that the left turn is not protected. But
we could definitely look into that too, Scott. Good, you have brought up a good point. I will talk to Joanna and see if we could have maybe a pilot project, because I have seen that a lot of the cities where they have implemented um, community gets really confused on those type of signal operations too. So it will, and I'm not saying that, if it does not work for that city, it won't work for our city. So most of the times what we do is we try to see if we can pilot those projects at a couple of locations and then make it more of a overall city implementation. So I will definitely talk to Joanna about this. Sorry, Scott, you were saying something else.
yeah, I was just saying, I don't know if that would fit into what we're trying to do. It seems like it's counterproductive to do that. I didn't know if they had a different approach to using those, maybe to allow more traffic to pass through more quickly. It just doesn't seem like it's going to be as safe as what you're trying to do here. I just see more of it and wanted to bring it up and see
Yeah,
why.
Yeah,
that's mainly for warning. So warning is a similar function as a current sign, because the current, usually if there's a permissive left turn and you see a sign, upcoming traffic, but probably provide more, like a better warning, but not as safe as what we're proposing right now. Here is a
correct.
protected left turn, but still case by case. Some location maybe it's not feasible to add a protected left turn lane. If it's
Right.
not feasible, then we probably can try the flashing yellow. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Scott, you bring a good point. If we do not have a left dedicated left turn lane and we still have a permissive operation, we can try at those locations. Also, so, most of the times those type of operations are implemented when you know that you have way high conflicting movement and you want to make use of every second on the other side. So that kind of it optimizes your throughput through an intersection when you don't know when those conflicting moments rise up and go down. So that's another very commonly used for improving the operations at a particular intersection too.
Yeah, I was thinking in particular like the Holmes, Vancouver, El Caminito intersection there because they're so close. I was wondering if
Mhm.
that might be a good area to try it because we get frequent collisions there where people turn and say, "Oh, I had a green." Well, you didn't have a green. You had to wait, and I didn't know. Just some thought.
No, good. That is why we want you to let us know.
I
So
think
that,
it's on the list, right? Ruta,
yeah, yeah,
the intersection Holmes and Vancouver
yes,
is way
yes,
down there. Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
Yep. Uh, I have another sheet which gives me a list of intersections. I've not put it on the slide because it was just way too much information, but I can bring it up later on if we have more questions. But yes, that is on the list, Joanna. Yep. So this particular map is just showing all the locations where we are thinking of. Again, it is a draft. We are still reviewing it and seeing if we can implement some of these improvements at these 28 locations that we have identified so far. Project 3, bike safety improvement and gap closer. We did look at a lot of corridors that had bicycle collisions, not only having bicycle collisions, but as I keep on saying, we want to be proactive. We also looked at gap closures. So if there were certain land uses, if there were bike facilities that were missing some connectivity, then we looked at that too. So we have a list of these corridors that we have listed that could benefit from having bike safety improvements throughout the city. That would look into having either upgrade the existing type of bike facility that we have, or it will implement new bike facilities on the corridors that are missing some of these bike facilities. And here is the map of existing bike lanes and what we are proposing. Whatever we are proposing is in dash. Again, we have a list of these locations. We more than happy to share that with you once that list is finalized. But the collision profiles that it addresses is profile number 7 and 12. And then the implementable actions that it looks into or addresses is SU5 and VRU1. Similar to that, we also have enhanced pedestrian and bicycle safety along the school areas. And this particular project is made up of non-signalized intersections as well as intersections that are within the school area that could be non-signalized as well as signalized. And we are looking into seeing if we can have high visibility crosswalks, RRFBs, some pedestrian refuge islands, or PHBs added to these intersections, because when we look at the total number of collisions within the school areas, there were a total of 188 with 23 KSIs, 6 fatal, 17 severe injuries, 70 visible injuries, and 95 complaint of pain, with modes like 4 bikes, 3 motorcycles, 10 passenger cars, and 6 pedestrians involved in these collisions. So we thought that it would be good for us to look into those school areas and come up with some improvements to make it a little bit more safer. And here are the locations that we have identified. Again, we have, I think, approximately 27, 28 locations. The ones that are in orange, they are near schools. The ones that are in yellow, they are unsignalized away from schools, but we thought that we should definitely consider the combination of both. And the collision profiles that it addresses is profile 1 and 3, and implementable actions is 9, 10, 11, SR, and SU 1 and 7, VRU 7, SS 4, and SV 3. And then we have last 2 projects, which are city-wide projects. I would like to say that city is already doing some part of it. There is an Joanna, it is an existing project, right?
Yeah,
That
so we do have a street lighting retrofit program and also annual street lighting project. So, but this with this collision history and profile, it can identify the high it can help us to re-rank the area we are improving the
correct.
lighting. Yeah.
Right. And the reason why we thought that it is good to bring this project on is, as you had seen before, that there were quite a lot of nighttime collisions we have seen throughout the city. Not only that, we did get comments from the community regarding the corridors that are not lit as well. So we thought that it would really help us having to look at the existing street lights, upgrading it, or even having new street lights if that is needed. But to do that, we need to do an inventory and then replace them or upgrade them accordingly. Just a few locations that we have noted down. Again, we will compare that with what city has already done and update that too. And the collision profiles that it is addressing is profile 6 and 9, and then the implementable action that it is addressing is 10 and 5. Citywide sign improvement is another citywide project. As I had mentioned before, that a lot of our signs over the time gets worn out. So we want to make sure that all the signs are looked at. If we need to upgrade some of those signs that are worn out, or sometimes even, cars, they just bump into them and you would see that they have moved or they are bent out of shape. Not only that, the standards keep on changing, and also the retroreflectivity of the sign kind of deteriorates from year to year. So we want to go back and see whether, first of all, the signs are up to existing standards that we have with respect to size and implementing where they need to be, where do we need to have some new ones if we are missing. And then lastly, also looking at the retroreflectivity. And that also helps with nighttime collisions, because they reflect at night and it helps you to see those signs visually much better than otherwise. So that's another project that we are proposing as a citywide implementation project. And the collision profiles that it would be addressing is 11, 5, and 3, and then implementable action number SR9. Again, this is the traffic calming measure project that I was talking about. It does help us to address profile number 4 and 11, and some of the implementable actions is SU2 and SS1 through 5. Along with the engineering strategies, we also looked into enforcement and educational strategies. And we just wanted to list some of these out from the implementable actions. The reason being that if you do include the educational strategies, then it will help you with some of the collision profiles, like addressing collisions near school zones, addressing collisions for that particular age group that we're looking at from 20 to 39, addressing collisions that are related to DUI, driving under influence of either alcohol or drugs. So definitely time to time education is very, very important. And then we have also listed some implementable actions that kind of focus on safety education campaigns or driving outreaching to discourage impaired driving near school areas, alcohol serving areas, entertainment districts, expand safe routes to school program. I think the other part of this particular plan is also looking into safe routes to school. So we will be doing that. So that is good that city is already taking a proactive initiative towards that, just like the traffic calming program that they're looking into. Also, looking into more education and outreach campaign aimed education and outreach for drivers to improve awareness for older pedestrians. We are doing one of the projects in Texas where they specifically meet every 6 months to train older drivers how to drive. So that's something else that, we within Livermore can also look into. So that's one of the action items that we have also identified. Providing bicycle demos, giving away helmets, free bicycle repair programs, things like that. In fact, city has also submitted a Office of Traffic Safety uh, grant application recently last month to include educating fifth and sixth graders and seventh graders at school on how to ride the bike or how to walk. What are the different signals that they need to know? What are the gestures that they need to be aware of while walking or biking to school? So that's another thing that we have looked into. And then we can also look into reviewing or modifying the school crossing guard program. Yesterday we had the outreach for community, and they did mention that that definitely helps. So we can again dive into it a little bit more and see if we can improve that too. Before I open up to questions, just want to go through the next steps that after this meeting, we will be finalizing this list of safety projects as well as the implementable actions, develop a Vision Zero action plan report, and then take it to City Council for adoption sometimes in June, early June. That is what we are looking at this point. And with that, I would like to open it up to Q&A.
No question?
I have one
Okay.
question again. I'm sorry, I keep monopolizing the question section here, but I appreciate you looking into the Isabel Avenue corridor and breaking that out into something different, even though we have very little control over what Caltrans does out there.
Mhm.
But my question is at what point does the city work with the highway patrol to try to turn over enforcement in that? I know Highway 4 had that same problem out in the Brentwood area with the local municipalities patrolling that and responsible for it, and that's been switched over to CHP. When I started here in 2004, um, Highway 84 was First Street, and it came through downtown with a speed limit of 25 miles an hour. It's no longer a 25-mile-an-hour roadway. It's basically a freeway. We have 4 miles of that segment from Jack London to Ruby Hill that's 50 or 55 miles an hour. There's no other city street in Livermore that's that speed.
Yeah.
So I was hoping or thinking that at some point with the growth of this and with the widening of it all the way out to 680 now, it's no longer just a convenient cut through. It's a major thoroughfare, genuine state route, Highway 84 used for that purpose.
Yeah, so with this, actually, I think there might be agreement between the city and the state, but I can dig out and try to see if we can work on it and pass responsibility back to them. Because I totally agree with you. We should not be the one who's responding on the all patrol should not be responding on highway. I mean, at state route 84 because it's called state route 84, right?
Yeah, and I agree, and it does come through a portion of our city, but it
hmm
borders the city, for lack of better words. The only thing on the other side of that really is the mall, for now, until some of the
hmm
development is built. But with that being built up out there north of the freeway and the development on Jack London on the south side now with that projected what some type of plant or something going out there. I don't remember what that is. It's just going to have even more people on it. So I appreciate you at least looking into it.
Yeah, so south of 580, right? Because north of 580, I think is not state highway anymore.
Correct. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's still the city street. So yeah,
yeah.
basically south of the freeway would be what we would be concerned with.
hmm
And I think north of the freeway, I think it has a 40 or 45. I don't remember, but it's lower.
hmm
I had a question if no one else wants to go yet. Um, I was curious with the profile. So there's the signalized and non-signalized profile. So because they're both concerns of ours, um, I I was wondering for solutions for the non-signalized. We're not planning on just making those signalized to address the issues, right? Since it seems like that's not necessarily the solution. How do we know when that is or is not an appropriate
You need to meet
solution?
meet certain warrant, meet
Yeah,
some
signal
certain
warrant.
criteria before you can install a signal. So signal is not like if you want to install, you're just
Mhm.
all over the city as a signal. That also lost the purpose of the signal, and people might because the signal might help the throughput and also help the
Mhm.
safety. But if you have signal everywhere, people might complain. It's like I want to go, but every block is their signal.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that makes
Yeah.
sense. And I guess I'm just kind of thinking ahead of like sometimes there's certain things that kick the traffic signal into play. And so that makes a lot of sense. Like there's a scenario, Joanne and I that you and I are looking at where it makes a lot of sense. Um, but I'm wondering in those cases where something became a traffic signal, but then it has a high injury network over there, how do we analyze and kind of like be proactive about if we were going to convert some of these to traffic signals, how do we protect against if they become traffic signals, making sure they're also not high injury network like these other traffic signal, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm explaining that clearly.
Yeah, no, it does. It does make sense.
Okay.
Because, anything that we will implement does have some repercussions, right? So basically, like Joanna said, first of all, making sure that we are not converting those unsignalized intersections into signalized without the proper warrants being met. And when we
hmm
say warrants, it's more into looking into the volumes, because sometimes what happens is everyone feels that, oh, it will be good to have a signal over here because I cannot make this turn or whatever it is, right?
hmm
But the volumes are not that high that it does warrant a signal. And when the volumes are not that high and you're sitting at a particular signal on a red and you don't see any conflicting movements going, that is when a driver gets more vulnerable and they will try to make that left even though it is red for him, because he or she is seeing that, oh, there's no one coming. Every single day I'm coming to the signal at this particular time and there's no one coming and I'm sitting over here for a minute, right?
hmm
So those are the things that we see. The other thing is also we look into what type of signal operations. Like, for example, if we think that the permissive does not work, we do not want to go ahead and put another permissive signal there, right? So there
hmm
are quite a lot of different criterias. But at the same time, on the other side, if we think that by implementing a signal, we will increase the safety,
Yeah.
because of a particular land use, maybe there is a driveway. It could be a driveway to Costco or something that has a lot of those turns. Then probably it does make sense. So every location will be analyzed
Case by
location to
case. Yeah.
case by case.
Unique.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay,
right.
gotcha.
Yeah, we just don't go and just say, oh, all these unsignalized intersections, let's just convert all of them to signalized. No, that never happens that way.
Okay. And then so I'm guessing with that traffic signal profile, we're studying like, is it case by case where we're looking at the
Yes.
characteristics of the issues, or are we creating profiles that are more lar like broadly covering if there's trends between these different intersections?
So the profiles are just telling you that this is what you need to emphasize on. But when
Uh,
we come to the improvements, it does not directly fall into a particular profile. The improvements are always
gotcha.
uh, case by case
Custom.
basis. Yes. So it is customized. So we will go look at that intersection and we feel that, okay, over here, bulb out is making more sense, or because it reduces the crossing distance for a
Crosses.
pedestrian, right? And those are the type of collisions we are seeing at that intersection. Then we would want to put that instead. Sometimes we will also say that, okay, there are a lot of pedestrians crossing here. Let's try to put a rectangular rapid flashing beacon instead of a full signal, or a pedestrian hybrid beacon instead of a full signal. So there are different type of countermeasures that we can implement for different scenarios.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Robert has a question.
Hey there. Yeah, this is
Hi.
Robert with Bikey Spay. Thanks for the presentation. Really well thought out, and the data is really helpful. Thanks for sharing. First, I wanted to reiterate that I completely agree that permissive lefts are a really bad idea from a pedestrian safety perspective. And we've seen that all across the East Bay that we represent. A lot of pedestrian fatalities have been associated with permissive lefts.
Yep.
And so it's something, ideally would like to move on quickly, but signal upgrades are pretty expensive and take a long time. So I'd be interested in also incorporating some potential opportunities for mitigating those issues that aren't that don't require a full signal upgrade. The city can't find funding for that. And some of them would be, maybe compromise things like a split phase signal, so you could separate out the pedestrian movements from the turning movements, or even just things to slow driver speed, turn speeds like centerline hardening and stuff like that.
Yep.
So thinking about it along those, project timelines and the relevant danger of a particular intersection, how quickly the city should try to move on some mitigation. Yeah.
Excellent point, Robert. We will try, and we generally call it a phased approach for those kind of situations. So thank you for bringing it up. We'll definitely look into a phased approach for those locations.
That's great. And if there's, an interest in developing like a rapid response toolbox for traffic calming, we have some examples that we're happy to share from other jurisdictions around the East Bay.
Yeah, we
That
have
would be great
a
if you can.
yeah, we are working on a neighborhood traffic calming program right now,
Mhm.
and also the toolbox. And if you do have some comments or example from that agency, it's really great. You can just send it to us right now, even.
Great. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can follow up on that. And
Okay.
with
Thank
regards
you.
to the bike mitigations, I'm really glad you're thinking both about corridor safety as well as gap closures. So thanks for including that. Um, with regards to specific treatments, we would like to encourage cities to defer to the NACTO contextual guidance for all ages and abilities bikeways, making sure you're looking at like vehicle speeds and volumes for a particular corridor in order to help select appropriate treatments to make sure that's a consistent experience for those users. Um,
Yes.
and that can also include those neighborhood corridors as well, and that traffic calming that you talked about can help with that.
Correct. And we are also going to make sure that even the class three, with the new rule coming up, right, that class three cannot be implemented on corridors greater than 25 miles an hour. Or even if we want to, then city needs to look into how can we reduce the speed limits on some of those corridors where we want class three, just for connectivity. Sometimes you have smaller segments that are kind of helpful to even have some kind of bicycle facility there, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you.
It is 12:03. Just want to be respectful of everyone's time. Um, we have no problem if you have any questions to answer, but I know a lot of you are busy, and if you want to bail out, that's fine too. Um, but more than
Any
happy to
additional
take
questions?
questions. Yeah, any additional questions? We are more happy to stick around also.